Before we start today's show, we just wanted to take a moment and give a huge thank you to the podcast sponsor, StreamYard. With StreamYard, you can stream directly from your browser, create a broadcast, show comments on screen, and see all of your comments in one place. With StreamYard, you can record HD video and audio. You can even go live with pre-recorded videos. Save, rewatch, and download past broadcasts. You can invite guests to your broadcast from any device. StreamYard makes it easy to run interviews, talk shows, podcasts, and so much more. You can simply get started with your own by heading on over to StreamYard.com. Now, without further ado, brought to you by Mindful Media Productions, you are now tuned into my favorite podcast, The Archives with Adam. Here is your host and my grandson, Adam.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Archives with Adam. As always, I'm your host, Adam, and I couldn't be more thrilled to have this guest back on today. Now, our guest, he is no stranger to the show and is someone who's been a beloved part of our childhoods. You know him best for his role as Squid in Nickelodeon's Rocket Power, AJ from the Fairly OddParents, a role he's recently turned to, and Tyson in Bringing On All or Nothing. And let's not forget his time as Nelson Minkler on Even Stevens. Mm-hmm. Honestly, we'd be here all day if we tried to cover his filmography. But please welcome back to The Archives with Adam, the incredibly talented Gary L. Gray. Gary, welcome back.
What's up, brother? What an introduction. Jeez, man. Making me feel old out here, first of all. But always loved. I love being on this show, man. So thank you for welcoming me back.
Oh, for sure, man. It's it's been a while. And so the show has evolved, obviously, and we're doing a little bit more better intros and things like that. But yeah, man. Yeah, no, man, it's been a while though. But man, last time we talked, we had a blast talking about, Rocket Power, Bring It On, sharing some stories and that incredible journey that you've had in the industry, thus far. And again, you've been at it for quite some time, and your talent shows in every project. Yeah. But since then, you've been involved in some projects and taken on other roles just as important as the ones that, we've previously discussed. Mm-hmm. And I definitely want to dive in those today, because obviously it's a big deal. Mm-hmm. But before we get into all of that, as you know, this is The Archives with Adam, where we dive into your archives of your brain and highlight your career. And so again, thank you for always, being on the show when you get the opportunity.
Yes, sir. Of course. As always, man. Always. You guys have a open door with me. Just let me know.
For sure. And now it's just The Archives with Adam, not The Archives, with Adam and Fab, but Fabby will pop in whenever she gets a chance and things like that. But
I still think of y'all.
Oh, of course. I mean, we started it out together, and
exactly. But man, it's been cool watching even just that transition alone. Just seeing you kind of come into your own as a professional interviewer. And just having these moments where you can have people on and, just like you said, have a conversation, and talk and see what, pick their brain about how they feel about certain things and moments in their career. And it's always really insightful. And like I said, I'm not just a guest. I'm a fan of the show. So I appreciate y'all for having me on always.
Of course, man. And, I've been at it for about a year now. This is our 50th episode. So, man, it's been fun, meeting tons of people and, building, connections and relationships. And that's something we've gotten to build, over that last year. We got to hang out, mm-hmm. and have some breakfast and hang out with Brian, another previous guest, so it's fun, man. Yeah, man. So, it's been fun, and I appreciate all of it. So
much love.
But yeah, man, I just want to start with, again, you've been crushing it in the entertainment industry for over 3 decades. I mean,
Wait,
it's not just impressive. I don't see age, man. I
like
see
that.
a lot
3
of
decades. Yeah, you know. I thought 30 years sounded bad, but 3 decades, it sounds a lot worse. But no, go ahead, bro.
Man, it's not just impressive. It's pretty legendary. Not many people can say that they've been doing what they've been doing for that long, right?
Man.
But looking back, what's been your secret weapon for sticking around in such a competitive industry? How have you managed to keep things fresh and reinvent yourself from time to time again, not losing that interest?
Wow, that's a good question. And one I feel like I can't entirely answer. Through everything, I just have always found an importance in just treating others with kindness everywhere I go. Not being difficult, but also not being a pushover. Very important. I like to do my work and get out, that kind of thing. So for me, it just really feels like I've not gone under the radar, but willingly just been low key. And I feel like that is a part of my success for sure. And the other part, as far as my longevity, I think, like I said, I can't fully answer it. It would kind of fall into the people that have hired me and worked with me and allowed me to have this space. I would hope that really it's my work that translates, into that and who I am as a person. I would like to say that, but like I said, I can't sit here and act like I have all the answers to that. I'm just thankful that it's the case, thankful that I can be doing it this long and for the foreseeable future, look to be continuing. So, yeah.
No, I think it definitely is a lot of your personality, from being around you and then seeing even some of your roles from when you started out as as a child, and we're going to talk about those later on. Man, I just think it's, we talked about being old and feeling old. I think that's going to make you feel a little bit older, but
oh, great.
But yeah, no. No, man, like I said, I think it's a lot of your personality, and I've only gotten to be around you just a little bit of time, but it's at the point where, Fabi and I were like, man, we wish, we could hang out with Gary again, and that's the truth, man, and hang out with Brian, get together and things like that. And we're going to finally get that opportunity, coming up. But, man, no, it's just like, we felt that energy and you've shown it, even throughout the time that we've known you, you've been somebody that we could come talk to and things like that. So it's been dope. Definitely.
Like I said, man, it's much appreciated. And I don't know. I just have, I've always had success in just kind of trying to be myself, so I think that everything that I've put into, my career and life in general, I've gotten back, that includes the bad, so for me, I've always just made a point, like, I have to put what I want, into everything. So, if I want that back, then I have to do that. And maybe sometimes even times two, it's worked pretty well so far. So that's kind of what that's my motto.
So from your early days as a child actor to voicing some of the most iconic animated characters, your career has entertained multiple generations of fans. And I mean, we're still talking nowadays, right? You've been a part of so many childhoods. How has the industry evolved from when you first started to now? And how has some of those changes influenced your way to approach your craft?
Good question. I've been a part of so many changes within the industry. I mean, just in life, I've been alive for the dawn of cell phones, for the internet, laptop computers. That's a lot. And then translating that into the film and television industry is, probably doubles, when you even talk about the technology that was afforded to us at the time that I started versus to now. It's completely and wholly different, right? So lots of changes, and the surface level ones are obvious, but I think the main thing definitely is how actors are ingested, is the main thing. And it used to be that people knew of your work because they saw you on television. And once they saw you on television, then they had to sort of make a choice to continue to see you on television because there was no on demand. You had to be home at a certain time to watch a show. And if you did not see it, maybe you could catch a rerun, and who knows when that might be, right? Then you have to be at home when you should be at work in order to catch that, which is even less likely than making it home at the time that the show usually premiered. So there was a lot of dedication to not only actors but projects. Your family crowded around the couch after dinner to watch TGIF, and that block of television. And that's just a lot different these days. And I think that actors and the way that we are consumed changed a lot with social media, but it also changed with broadcast media. And I think that a lot of people kind of miss that step. We automatically go to social media and go, oh, this is it. This is what made everything go topsy-turvy. But, it started a long time ago, and that's just the advancement of technology, unfortunately, how fast we've been able to sort of lay the building blocks of what entertainment is and what it's capable of. And yeah, once it started to be where you had more choice, actors didn't, really have that pedestal that they had before. So I think that makes a huge difference, in the changes. But yeah, I would say just the consuming of media and actors, in general. And that also counts for the voiceover industry as well, is included in that. Just the way that we even record these days is a lot different. The way that I audition is a lot different. I almost used to always have to go into a physical booth to audition, and now I record on my phone in the car if I have enough time, so that's just different. I talk about this on the time as well with Twitter. I think also the community of sets have changed. I think before there were more, how do I put it, chemistry laden families that made up sets where everybody just sort of felt like they were your extended family. And there used to be chemistry meetings, with a lot of sets and stuff. And I don't see as much anymore. I'm sure they happen, most likely on bigger budgeted projects. But I mean, from top to bottom, you would see it back in the day. And I think that's changed. A lot of actors are kind of to themselves, and they have their teams, and then they have their teams that are filming their teams, and then the team that's helping that team, and then it's just like everybody kind of is in their own bubble, and they come together to work, and it happens beautifully, thank goodness. But yeah, it's a lot different from back in the day, definitely.
Now you've tackled such a wide range of characters, from live action roles like Nelson on Even Stevens to voicing fan favorites like AJ and the Fairly OddParents and Squid and Rocket Power. I feel like I know the answer to this question, but I may be wrong.
Okay.
With such a diverse lineup, is there a particular role or character that's closest to your heart, or one that's pushed you in ways that others didn't?
Wow. Including on camera or voiceover?
It could be either. It could be either.
Man. I think on camera, I always gravitate towards Ephraim and Blackbird. Just because that was one of the hardest stretches for me as a performer. And it was at a time where I was really kind of craving that. And I was like, I want to just do something different. Like, I'm tired of being the best friend or the nerd character, that guy, the token guy. And it was just like, I want the role to sort of mean something. I want to feel the way about this role that I feel about my favorite roles from other actors and other performers, and I want people to feel that way. So once I started saying that, I feel like my career kind of changed drastically, honestly, and that one always stands as like a real turning point, I feel. So I think that is always near and dear to my heart. And of course, Squid, you know, just being my first sort of voiceover feature role, because I had done voiceover commercials and things like that, but just having a character that I was, you know, I got to take over and people could see it, you know, on television as a cartoon, and I had toys and gear and clothes with my character's face on it, and yeah, it was just cool, you know. And as a kid, I think I was 11, yeah, I think, when I started Rocket Power. So I don't think anything could be cooler to an 11-year-old than, you know, your character's face being put on a skateboard deck. Like, what? Like, that's me. What, you know? So yeah, I think that's just probably the two roles that resonate the most with me, for sure.
Okay, and that's the answer I thought I was gonna get, was like Squid, because like we've had that conversation before, and Funko needs to make a Funko Pop, man. We got Regina. We need the Funko Pop of,
we need a Twister and Squid Pop, like ASAP, please. Yes. Like, what is going on? How do we not have the set Funko? What is going on? Yeah, and I don't know if you guys gotta talk with Nick, or with Nick and Funko. We gotta have a conversation. I need to set that up. I'm gonna set it up on Twitter.
There you go. Yeah. Now, I was kind of, you know, that's kind of like the connection you and I have had was with, you know, Squid, because like, man, growing up as a kid wearing glasses, you know, seeing somebody wearing glasses and you know, and stuff, being nerdy, you get it, man. You know, like it was different. So I think that's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, man. You know, 30 years in the business, you definitely seen your fair share of highs and lows. I mean, can you share a memory or a moment in your career that was a real test of, you know, test for you, and how did you push through it, and how did that experience shape you even as an actor today? And again, you've been through a lot, man. Like, you've seen a lot.
I was like, how much time we got, man? Working a job for 30 years. You ask anyone that's worked a job for 30 years, any job. And they will have down moments. They will have very high highs and very low lows. Acting is no different. And in fact, acting more than often will be an exaggerated form of, you know, most jobs, you know, because of the initial rejection that you have to face. And, you know, you already start on a negative most of the time. You know, you're very, very small percentage of first auditioners book that first job, you know, so you're going to hear a no before you hear a yes, more than likely. That's like 90% of the field. And I'm probably being generous with 90. But, you know, to know that, you know, to know that you're going to go into this job and you're going to fail way more often than you succeed. You know, it takes a little bit of crazy. And, you know, we always say actors are probably some of the most insane people you will ever meet, because we willingly do this. And we willingly give parts of ourselves, you know, sort of to these roles, right? So you're naturally going to have very down moments. But I don't know. I don't want to highlight, I don't want to make it seem like my moments are, you know, any worse than anyone else's moments. You know, but yeah, of course there's times, luckily I've had work every year. You know, I haven't gone, you know, a long time where it's like, oh my gosh, I haven't booked. And, you know, thank goodness that, you know, and again, I thank my lucky stars for that. But have definitely been questionings, you know, should I still do this? You know, burnout. Before I booked Noah's Ark, was one of those times. You know, I had talked to my mom about quitting. I was going to film school at the time, and I was, you know, really kind of just feeling the effects of just being the kid from Even Stevens and, you know, that nerdy boy, you know, and it was just really kind of one of those things I was trying to get away from. And I booked Bring It On and Noah's Ark in the same year. And that was just like an awakening, you know, and I got to sort of got picked up out of the mud there. Very recently, I went through a very down period, actually, because of a project not working out. And, you know, you get that all the time, where you feel like something is going to be great for you. And sometimes it doesn't work out. You know, I've had countless commercials that I've filmed that never got to see the light of day, you know, and those, you know, you take in stride. You know, most of the time it's like, well, I got paid for the day, you know, but it sucks that I won't get residuals, but, you know, but yeah, it's harder when it's a character that you are molding yourself into and trying to become, and that gets pulled from you. So that gets hard for sure. But it's definitely something to where you feel like the good more than outweighs the bad, and you kind of just say, hey, you know, that's what I'm here for. That's what I do this job for. It's a part of this job. So yeah, I don't know. I think those two times, you know, those periods were definitely hard. You know, I've definitely had moments where I felt like a career change would be in order, you know, whether I go completely just into coaching or whether I go completely into being a writer or a manager or whatever, you know, definitely been there. But more often than not, I end up talking myself right back into it. As soon as I get an audition the next day, I'm like, well, back to it, you know. So but that's the relationship that usually an actor has with this, especially if they're really, really serious about doing this and changing experiences with this stuff, you know, with this art that we do. You know, that's what it's about. You want people to sit in that seat and become changed in some way, you know, with what you do, you know. And a lot of people think that means, you know, make them cry or inspired, but a laugh can change someone, you know. So even a romantic gesture, you know, can change someone's outlook on what they're going through, you know, seeing love on screen, you know, seeing, you know, someone run from the bad guy and being inspired, you know, a lot of stuff, life stuff looks different to a lot of people. So I just find pride in having those ups and downs so that I can kind of portray it on screen for people. So, yeah, that was a really long and roundabout answer to a simple question, but yeah, I kind of got preachy, but you know, we're good.
And honestly, man, it's the truth, because like, man, I'm in my job, and I ain't been at my job as long as you've been doing your thing, right? But like, man, there's just so many days where I'm just like, man, like, it's even worth it. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. And I mean, and think about this, you know, the working, you know, little SAG fact for you. You know, it's really a 0.5% of actors that don't have to worry about their next paycheck, you know, and that's a scary thing. You know, out of the hundreds of thousands of registered actors in the union, it's like 0.5 of them that are millionaires, you know. The rest of us, you know, as much as you frustrated, can't stand your job, you wake up, you snoozing the alarm, you're like, I don't want to go, I don't, calling out when you're not really sick, you know, all of those times and moments, at least you're getting paid. You're getting paid for your work and your time every time you clock in. You know that paycheck is going to reflect the amount of work you put in, right? It's not like that for us. You know, imagine having all that frustration and getting paid. You know, our SAG union states that we can get paid as late as a month after our, you know, our first day of work, you know. So you're working and you don't even see that until the next bills are due, you know, and then here your residuals come and it's great and everything, but you have to worry about, how does this cycle? When is this being shown? Will I have enough to cover this amount of bills? So for the working actor, it looks a lot different. And like I said, thankfully, my career has been one where I have been able to support myself, but it's not like that for a lot of people. And it takes a village a lot of times. A lot of actors have very strong support systems because they've had to find it, in this climate. So yeah, it's hard. It's hard out here.
And I think, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, actually, throwing it back to Rocket Power, I had Lombardo Boyar, the voice of of Lars on Rocket Power. He questioned me. He was like, do you know the percentage of child actors that are still doing this? And Jay had from The Blind Side, he even asked, he even told me it's like 1% of like child actors are still doing this. It's crazy.
And I love, the sort of perception that sort of child acting gets, online, because I get to sort of refute it. Because a lot of people think that most child actors end up negatively, but it's completely the opposite. Most child actors actually end up working in positive. It's just that you would never know the people that are popular and successful were child actors. You don't even think about it. You only hear about the negative ones that got mixed up and stuff, and you go, oh man, well, what is the common denominator? They're child actors. But it's like, yeah, but there's a greater percentage of the success, so why don't we go to that? Lawrence Fishburne, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Regina King, all of them were child actors, and that's just literally off the very top of my head. You could go on and on and on. And it just, it doesn't get thought about because they're like, oh, they're successful though, so, but it definitely is a very small percentage of us that are still doing it that, you would consider working actors, for sure. Oh man, it's very, very small. And I'm thankful that I've been able to do it for as long as I have, because a lot of my peers, haven't been able to, continue. But I think that it's kind of like a cool special, badge of honor as well, where we're like, man, we're still kicking. This is great.
Yeah. And speaking about some of your childhood roles, we've talked about, the Rocket Powers and things like that. But your career is packed with roles that were just as significant as I mentioned earlier. Even if sometimes they fly under the radar, one that stands out to me, and it was always a good movie, was your portrayal of young Tiger Woods. A role that's not just about entertainment, but also capturing, the early life of one of the most influential athletes of all time. So what was it like stepping into that role as somebody as legendary as Tiger Woods, even at such a young age that you did it? How did you prepare for that role, and what was the impact of playing the young Tiger Woods, as an actor and on your career?
Yeah, it was a great time in my life. I was coming off of, I think, doing a couple of guest star roles on a couple of like really big shows at the time, like ER and High Incident. And it was just really cool to sort of get that audition and really knock it out the park and get to work with a great director in LeVar Burton. I was really anxious to work with him. And the preparation was crazy. I was in golf camp for about a month and a half before we even stepped foot on set. I trained with, I forget his name. I'm blanking so hard. But he was taught by Jack Nicklaus and Tiger himself, and sort of knew, the ins and outs of their game. And I got to learn Tiger's like specific lock for his drives versus his putts, and, had to sort of just reenact every moment that Tiger had at that age. I did basically, and down to just having conversation with people on set who were influential in Tiger's life, and coaches and, members of the PGA board at the time. You know, it was just really cool getting insight on, you know, his mindset. You know, I had worked with some athletes at that time, and it was really cool getting to dive into one. You know, working with one is cool. You get to see that persona and everything, but like having be, you know, told, and then I read, you know, countless books, you know, on him and his style, from his life and upbringing, articles, and, you know, at I think I was 10 or 11 doing that as well at that age, you know. And granted, I was a bookworm, so that was no problem for me, but just kind of the undertaking of then having to apply it. It's one thing to be like, I'm ingesting this because I'm just, you know, reading, but then to say, okay, now to sort of become this sort of tour de force of a kid, because that's what he was. You know, he was amazing even at that age, and it doesn't get talked about often because, you know, he just continued to rise. But at the age that I played him at, he was already just a master at work, you know. So yeah, getting to do that and learning the game of golf even was really cool over the course of that month. But the shooting process was amazing. I got to work with Frida Pinto, I believe. Sorry, not Pinto, Kahlo. I'm completely blanking the name. And she played Tiger's mom. And yeah, it just, and obviously that was my first time working with the wonderful Keith David, who played Tiger's father. And yeah, you know, just the all around great experience, you know, wouldn't trade it for the world. It was awesome.
Do you still use the golf swing and everything to this day?
So the putt, I do. Like when I go play miniature golf, like I can't not do it. It sucks. It's just stuck. Driving, I've found it easier to do sort of just a regular, you know, lock and grip. But yeah, that interlock that Tiger does for his putts to hold the club, which is like this, it's what I do. So catch me mini golfing.
It's a wrap.
Yeah, it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
Man, you know, I've tried golfing, man, and the closest I get is Top Golf. That's it. And
I suck at Top Golf. I suck at Top Golf. I've done it like twice, and I'm just like, man, I gotta get used to, you know. Also, driving is a what do you call it? A learned, or sort of like a repetitively learned skill, where, you know, the more repetition you put into it, the better you are. And like for that month, man, when I was I went from literally not being able to hit the ball to, I mean, I was doing, I think my longest drive was like 300. And I was, at like 10, you know, so I was hitting some good balls, you know, and it was just like to kind of go from not hitting it at all to that. I was proud of myself. I was like, yeah, you know, so no, it was really cool. That was really cool.
Okay. And, you know, portraying a real person, you know, especially somebody with such an iconic name, you know, brings a different set of challenges, you know, compared to a fictional character. What were some of the unique challenges you did face while, you know, playing Tiger Woods? And how did you ensure the portrayal was authentic and respectful to his story, especially at a young age, you know, where you're still learning?
Yeah, you know, like I said, the Showtime, which was the company that distributed it, them setting up, you know, the camp was already just an amazing feat. You know, to throw it, you know, preteen into golf camp for a month and a half before you shoot, you know, that's a severe undertaking of understanding that you have a duty to portraying this character. They couldn't just sort of body double this, you know, and, you know, just kind of, you know, obviously not at the time, CGI wasn't a thing. So, you know, not for this scale of film anyway. So it was one of those things where they really were dedicated to portraying Tiger's legacy on screen. And I think that my preparation with, you know, countless articles and footage, you know, I was going to school, going to camp at, you know, 3:00, probably not leaving till about 6, getting into the hotel room, watching footage from like 6 to 8, eating, sleep, do it over again the next day. You know, that was my life, you know, so It was just for me knowing that it was already a figure that I admired, and watched, and got to see already, it was really cool to say, hey, like, he's like me, Also, Tiger's his ethnic background is similar to mine. He's Black and Thai, I'm Black and Chinese. And so it really was something where representation was also a factor, and people said that, growing up, they were like, you do look like Tiger Woods, so I had that. And it was like, it really definitely, I think, meant a lot more to me than I even realized at the time, So looking back, there are so many cool things about that project that are sort of applicable to my career today.
Okay. Another standout role that you had was back in 1997. There goes the age thing again. Ooh. Was the Weird Al show. You played Bobby the Inquisitive Boy. Obviously a role that showcased your comedic chops and, fit you perfectly within, your quirky ways. The personality that we talked about. What was it like working on the Weird Al show and bringing, Bobby to life? How did you approach that character? In such a unique and offbeat way?
Mm-hmm. Man, that's a great question. At the time I was used to sort of being the only kid in the room, but that was also one of the times where on camera I really felt it, and it was like, wow, I'm in here with some great people, and Weird Al was a show that, largely was built around its guests, so every episode we had legends on. I'm just like, oh my God, Randy Savage, I think we had like Jimmy Eats World on one time, and it's just like, oh my God, so it's just like, when you get to a project that's like that, you're just riding the wave, and I was just really cognizant of being a professional, happy to be there. You never want to be the child that like the set has to worry about, so I kind of prided myself on, really kind of always doing my job. When something is going wrong on set, it's never going to be Gary Gray, so it's like, for me, I think that played into also the experience that I had there, because I think because I was, fairly easy to work around as a child, I think that the others on set took to me very well, so Weird Al himself was amazing. Like, man, he taught me how to play gin rummy, so who can say that they got taught how to play gin rummy from Weird Al Yankovic? I mean, come on. So, just playing cards with Al, hanging out with Paula, at the time, my mom and her were like this, so on set, the two Black women that could be on set, it was like, it was definitely natural. Excuse me. But yeah, just that whole set also was made for a child to have a great experience, right? The sets were made to be really cool and funky and interactive. The scripts were amazing and meant to really evoke, a child's imagination. So largely I was just having a blast. I was having fun on that set. But yeah, all around, just great experience.
So earlier, we were talking about like culture, right? And you've really got like your start in shows that were really for like the Black community, right? Mm-hmm. We're talking Young Carlton and Fresh Prince and Family Matters, the Cosby Show. Like, what did that mean to you? Like, at that time, did you understand like how important that was for television, for the culture?
Yeah, man, I definitely, it's weird with that range of projects that I did, from the Cosby Show, Family Matters, Living Single, Fresh Prince. I did all of those before I turned 7. And so it was like one of those things that I gradually learned how important these shows were, getting older and being able to not only watch some of these shows, but kind of understand their impact, I guess you would say. Definitely helped, getting older and being able to, wait for Family Matters to come on TGI Fridays, and stuff like that was definitely a thing. And at the time, living single, I think, was a little bit above what my mom was willing to let me ingest because they talked about sex and stuff a lot. But being on it, by that time, I was like, yeah, I get it, because the audiences, also, that was back in the day where there were live audiences. So you get to kind of understand the importance of something when you see the support for it. These days, streaming and all of that stuff, most of the time, nothing is on set to give you that instant gratification of going, whoa, like we're doing a thing, but back in those days, you had comedians that any other place, they're getting an audience of their own. They're a name in their own right, and yet they're clamoring at the chance to be able to be the set comedian for the Cosby Show or for Living Single or for Family Matters, and to be able to hype that crowd up. And you've got an audience of a couple of hundred people that as soon as they go, there another audience is going to come in and do the same thing. Like seeing that happen live was a huge thing. So like I said, I did get to see it. Had I kind of came up in this day and age, I feel like it would be a little different. But I think the era that I was able to come up in definitely made a big sort of influence on how I took that and how I noticed what I was a part of.
And it's definitely not the same anymore. And you kind of said that, it's like, it's just not the same. I used to watch Family Matters. I used to watch, Living Single. Yeah, Living Single. Sorry. The Cosby Show. We used to watch Fresh Prince, and things like that. I've actually got to sit down with Fabi, and we've been watching Bel Air, and that's really caught our attention.
Don't say anything. I got to catch up. I got to.
No, I got you. It's just it's so fire. Amazing. It's fire.
Yeah, it's fire. It's fire. Like everybody that had a bad thing to say about, them, flipping things, like, this is the stuff that we beg for, and yet when it comes, then we have bad things to say about it. Like you begged for a fresh take that included Black cast, and this is it. This is a way for it to take something like Fresh Prince that's iconic and bring something new to the table where it doesn't have to be that thing. That thing can exist in its own world. And now you have this new thing that just shares the universe of it, and it can be its own, support, and I love it. I love it personally. But yeah, go ahead to your point.
Yeah, no. And that's like, my point is like, you don't find those sitcoms that you want to go home and sit down and watch. Like, I think the most that we've done was Bel Air and 90 Day Fiance, where we're catching up on
and
that.
Neither one of those are technically sitcoms. Like,
exactly.
Like, so it's like, yes, sitcoms are definitely a dying breed. It's really sad to see. I think there are shows like The Upshaws that are doing very well, and I think doing it very well. I really do like The Upshaws, and a couple of others. But, it's very much a dying breed. And I think, like I said, the fact that people, we got away so far away from live television and more to spectacle television, which to me, I don't think it was a problem per se. I just think that there was a way to do both. And there was a way to keep both. But I think we just kind of got so far into making spectacle television with the Game of Thrones and, the Lost in Spaces and, whatever else show costs a lot to make, the Rings of Power and, all of these shows that take up so much production costs and so much time and effort from the industry that, it's hard for a sitcom to find an audience. Everybody's waiting for that next big thing. I don't want to tune in every week for the small thing anymore, but, I think that, like I said, there's a way for both. I think that there is an audience to be had for both. But right now, like you said, it is slim pickings. It's not really much out there for the people that want to tune in at a specific time that can come get a laugh or a lighthearted bout of television. It's all, if you're tuning in at a specific time, it's to watch Game of Thrones. It's to watch, that big set piece television that everybody is watching at the moment. So yeah, I get you.
Yeah, no, 100%. So yeah, man, I want to talk about your role as AJ in the Fairly OddParents. Obviously it was a hit for fans, and it's still talked about to this day.
Yeah.
It's impressive that they brought you back for the sequel, the Fairly OddParents. Yep. And obviously it's AJ stood, the testament of time. What does it mean to you to have, been invited back to reprise your role as AJ in the sequel? But how does it feel to also know that your portrayal was so well received and your return was wanted?
Yeah, that's great. I obviously am just elated that I was able to return as AJ. Obviously, one of my most beloved roles by myself and by my fans alike. And already AJ meant a lot to a lot of people, even, and meant a lot to me. So to be asked after all those years was definitely something that I was just, like I said, overcome with joy with. And yeah, just having AJ be a character that sort of is influential enough that they felt like it was a good idea for whatever reason, to bring back in that capacity. And then obviously for it to be in such a positive way as well. I take note when things are not, sort of understated, and I actually just had, sort of small conversations with some of the writers and stuff and responsible for bringing AJ back. And, they were mentioning how they really felt it to be important, to bring the character back and really kind of show him in the light that he was shown in. And that means so much to me. Ashley, the executive producer for Fairly OddParents and New Wish, she is a just tour de force. She's also the voice of Hazel Wells on the show. I think that, they just did a great job at assembling a team that had such reverence for the original show, but understood what they had to do to make it fresh and make it new and modernize it. And also bringing in a Black family to sort of replace Mom, Dad, and Timmy. That's also a severe undertaking as well. And that I think they just did it with flying colors. And you couldn't ask for a better, I think, revival of a beloved cartoon that ran as long as that did. It's very easy to do something that maybe only had a couple of seasons, like a reboot of Rocket Power. As much as we wanted, it wouldn't be hard. There was, it was 4 seasons of Rocket Power. We didn't get too crazy into any, lore, as much as you would think. But here you have something like Fairly OddParents that has a huge, deep history. The amount of fairies and the amount of storylines, not only that, but crossovers, that happen within that show. It's a lot, to sort of have to keep in your pocket to remember while you're creating something new based off of it. So they did an amazing job, and I'm just thankful that AJ was brought back in the capacity that he was. And yeah, I wish for more. So hoping that the audience also agrees and they get more seasons because they deserve it.
100%. And man, when you posted that, I was like, there's just no way. Like, and now you're back as an adult AJ. Yeah. And man, we talked earlier about the Squid Funko Pops, but I would really honestly love to see an AJ Funko Pop, but maybe like a 2-pack of an AJ and a Chester, just like we got the 3-pack of, Timmy and Cosmo.
That would make sense. I know me and the voice of my Chester, Jason Marsden, I know that we would love to definitely get that, because man, that duo, it meant something to us. Like we've seen each other on multiple occasions, we've worked together on multiple occasions, and that is just always the thing that we go back to. Like, man, it's just always fun getting us two together for those 2 roles, and having a pop, sort of combo pack would be our dream.
You guys are just as important as, Timmy, Cosmo, and Wanda as well.
We love it.
So when they, called you up and said, hey, we want you to be back, how did it feel to step back into, the shoes of AJ as an adult this time? Did you approach that role differently for this new project, or, were there any new aspects of AJ that you even enjoyed exploring?
Yeah, I had a couple of meetings with them before, and spoken some dialogue through email. So I kind of had an idea, right, for what I was gonna do, and I was told that it was adult AJ as well. So for me, it was just wondering, how do I capture the essence of what I've done as this character, and put him into the shoes that he's in now. He's a executive. He's a owner of the Galaxy Institute, and he oversees these passions that he grew up doing with his inventions and his experiments, and now he gets to do this as a job. Like think about that kid. And so for me, it was really about just kind of getting that familiarity and blending it with just the person that AJ may have become over time, and being that figure. And he's always had that in him, he's always had the potential to be, a CEO. We saw AJ as like probably becoming president or something, right? When he was little. So it's like, it wasn't hard. But yeah, I think the last meeting before recording, I just kind of did the voice for a couple of the producers, and they were like, "That's it," Like, all right, my suspicions were correct, So yeah, it was really fun to kind of step back into the shoes for sure.
All right, nah, man, just seeing that was like, it was crazy, and I lost my mind, because obviously that was like a part of my, like, I would say teenage years, not really even childhood, more like teenage years. So that was just, it was crazy. And then obviously we know you, and it's like, okay, yeah, that's cool. We get to geek out.
No, I definitely, I was right there with y'all, man. It was such a cool thing for me to see, for sure, especially in the new art style, which I think is awesome. So it was cool to see AJ like really for real deal modernized,
Oh yeah, and most recently, man, we just celebrated the 20th anniversary of Rocket Power, and the major
25th.
milestone. 25th, sorry.
Yeah, I think it was 25th. I think, right? I think
20th. It came out 20th. In 2000.
Okay. No. Yeah, okay, yeah, cool. So then, yeah, all right. Yeah. I was like, oh man, I don't know if it was 25th or 20th, but yeah, 20th is still crazy.
Yeah. I mean, more so you got to celebrate it, and obviously that's been a big deal to you, and anybody that's been paying attention to the episode this far will know like how much that means to you, especially with the Squid discussion we had. How does it feel to be a part of a series that still resonates so strongly with fans and 2 decades later? Like, do you ever get surprised by how much Squid still means to people? I mean, not even like the show, like we're talking like even Squid.
Right. Honestly, not really, because Rocket Power was a very unique show. And anything that has that amount of uniqueness to it, I think is just going to have a very strong following. It's going to find its people, and I think Rocket Power is a testament to that. And then within Rocket Power as a project, you have sort of Squid as a character who basically does for people and characters what the show does for people. So it's like, finding that unique character within that unique world. He's gonna have people resonate with him, and I think that Squid spoke to a very specific set of people, and the people that felt like they were the everyman, or every girl or every person, when it came down to their group of friends, and the others were a little bit cooler than them, they felt, or had this going for them, but they still like got to rock with them and got to skate with them, and I know how it feels to be that kid. So I think that when it came down to who he spoke to, there was a lot more people that resonated with Squid than maybe even some other members of Rocket Power, So it was very much a time in my life where I got to really kind of fully see a character that I was like, I know people like this kid, even though in the show he's portrayed a certain way, and people make fun of him, but he was always that kid that you wanted to root for, So yeah, I think that it's just it's been a crazy ride knowing that, you know, anything can last that long as far as, you know, a relevance sort of talk is concerned with Rocket Power. But like I said, it doesn't surprise me because it was one of those flash in the pans, like you just can't replicate it. It's going to be that influential in certain people's minds forever.
And during that time when it came out, that was really the time for like action sports, right?
Yeah,
So,
X Games was popping. Tony Hawk was at the height of his career with Pro Skater 2 just dropping, and yeah, you know, it was the time for it. And like I said, I think that's why it's so influential. It came at its time. It lasted for exactly how long it was supposed to not be overdone, and it went out. And that's why I think to this day people gravitate towards it, because it's like that perfect little morsel of, you know, that era of television that exists, you know, and you get to kind of now ingest it any way you want. You know, the show is on, I think, Paramount Plus. I think the movies are on Amazon, so can't go wrong.
And during that time, like when it all came out, you know, there weren't conventions, there weren't, you know, social medias that you could really go on and, you know, chat with like the people behind it all. But what has some of like, what's some of the most unexpected things you've heard from fans and, you know, about your role as Squid and as the anniversary approached? Because I know a lot of people were showing you some love with that.
Yeah, you know, I hear, you know, a lot of the same thing, kind of just what I spoke about. You know, a lot of people saying that they were, you know, that kid, you know, in their friend group, and, you know, how Squid resonated with that. And I haven't heard, you know, many specific stories, but I always get people coming to me and saying, you know, Squid was my guy, you know, and so I always love hearing that. But yeah, people who love Rocket Power really love Rocket Power. It's like their show. And so I love hearing anyone come and say they like, oh man, this episode, I love this line. And, you know, obviously I get sand and potato salad a lot. But when it comes down to it, it's everyone is always just like thankful because the character, it exists. It's their character to them, you know? So I love to hear everything.
Definitely. Now, most recently, you've been in some commercials. You know, you've done the KFC BBQ Chicken Sandwich. You've been in Verizon commercial where you're lifting weights.
Yeah,
man, I wouldn't have known that was you until you posted like the clip. And, you know, and it's just cool seeing it on TV.
People are always like, you know, especially when I do commercials, I can like look, you know, so many different ways, and you know, it's always funny to kind of see people go like, oh my God, I watched this like 10 times before I realized it was you. You know,
well, the KFC one, like you could tell that was you, you know, and that was a cool little commercial. But man, you know, just like hearing about the commercial and things like that, you know, was there anything memorable to that, like about that commercial to you? Did you get to eat many chicken sandwiches?
Oh, you're talking about KFC?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. I mean, you know, commercials are our bread and butter. I don't mean to sound jaded, you know, or anything. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it was a commercial shoot. You know, you're always going to have ad agencies try to do the most when it comes down to selling their products. So, you know, even though my boy Chelly, who was in the commercial with me, he was on wires spinning around, you know, even though that happened, it's still not really out of the ordinary for me when it comes down to shooting a commercial. I've shot some wild commercials, you know. So I had one for Pizza Hut that didn't even come out that I had to do an entire mud run for. Like, you know, like, yeah, like, you know, so when it comes down to that, I've just kind of seen it all. I've shot a Jack in the Box commercial where I shot a whole music video as a I don't even know what you would call it, like an NSYNC teeny bopper boy band member, or, you know, whatever. So, you know, like I said, I've just seen it all. So that shoot was just pretty normal. It was a pretty normal shoot. The one thing that I would say that's kind of memorable from that shoot, though, was just that the sandwich was really heavy. It was really heavy. And like by the end of the day, I was like shaking because like holding it at a specific angle and like sitting the way that I am, like, and it's super heavy. And like my hand is just like I was like shaking for some of the shots. So I know a lot of those quick cuts are probably because my hand was doing the floppy dance. But yeah. Other than that, it's pretty normal.
Is there anything that you've been in the works that you want to share right now that you can talk about? Any commercials, any movies?
Yeah. I mean, there are things that I'm working on. Unfortunately, I am under NDA for everything. And I will say that one thing is fairly big. I'm not quite sure how it'll turn out, but it's just kind of at this point up in the air, and I'm just along for the ride. And I just, like I said, don't know what's what, but I hope it transpires, and I hope the world gets to see what I've been working on in that aspect. Another is something a little smaller, but I still can't talk about it. That should be dropping sometime soon. I hope. But yeah, I mean, I've been working. This has been a great year, just commercial wise, and obviously with the Verizon commercial dropping earlier this year. And it's just, I've been working on my own projects, has really just kind of been where my time has been going, and really getting to a point where that stuff is kind of taking a little bit of a stronger, I would say, stance in what I'm doing and how I'm allocating my time. I did recently just pick up a theatrical agent for the first time in, about 6 or 7 years. So, things will change on that front. Now I will be auditioning for, a lot of these sort of on-camera roles that you see a lot of these guys doing. So, I'll be back in that pool. As well as voiceover. These past 7 to 10 years I've been voiceover focused, so now getting back into the swing of on camera stuff is going to be challenging, but I'm welcoming it, and I'm being very choosy about the scripts that I choose to see, and I've gotten actually a couple of offers already that I've said no to, even it's just, I'm at a point in my career where I don't want to do anything that doesn't serve me, and just getting money is not exactly serving me. So I have to want to do it. I have to see the benefit in other people seeing me do this project. And I also have to not see someone else in that role. I'm very much a person where I give sideways, I give downwards. When it comes down to who I support, when it comes down to that, and I just feel like to see someone who I know could rock this. A lot of people say, oh, we think you should be the on-screen Miles Morales, and I'm like, no, one, I'm too old. Two, I see Miles Brown in that role, and that is someone who I actually know, and it's one of those things where I just wouldn't see myself, even if offered that role, I wouldn't see myself taking it, because I think that taking those things in order to sort of do your own thing when you can't fully realize something about that character does it a disservice. It does the project a disservice. It opens it up for discussion. I would much rather people go, yes, when I saw that, this is what I saw, and then let that person then take their trust from 100 to 0 if it's not good. But at least I won't be the issue. No, I'm kidding on that. But yeah, I feel very strongly about that. So right now it's really about making my own way with these projects. I've got so many cool things. I mean, man, when I look at the slate of stuff that we have on our work list, it's industry changing. I will go and I will say that, and I feel confidently in saying that. Are the audiences ready? I don't know. I will say that. I don't know. I don't think so at the moment. Will they be ready soon? Or by the time we get this stuff really going? I think so. And so that is why we in the team are working very diligently on getting this stuff coming to fruition. So I've been really proud to work with some really cool people with this stuff. So very soon you will see some things rolling out that could be, I guess, teasers. We just dropped some concept art for a project not too long ago for a project we have called the American Werewolves. We dropped some concept art for what is probably going to be one of the best animated shows that you will see. So yeah, that was exciting. But, trickling in over the last part of this year, I've got SplatCon coming up, obviously. And I'm very excited about that, to have a con where it, really caters to not only performers like me, but, people who really are interested in performers like me, sort of setting the stage for us to get love is great. Being at a con is one thing, but being at a con for people like us is just amazing. So I really can't wait for that. And yeah, coming up, my girlfriend and I are starting a YouTube channel. We're going to do the annoying YouTube thing and be a couple, but we're going to be different because we're really going to be, a sort of a travel channel that, kind of focuses on the every person. Like, what is, the every person doing when it comes down to this stuff, when it comes to Disney, when it comes to going to theme parks, when it comes to restaurants and things that you may try. We have a very realistic output of how we're going to do this, but it will be called A Couple's Quest. And we recently got our art back, but I can't reveal it yet, unfortunately, because we're going through, edits and stuff. But yeah, we have that coming up really soon. So I'm excited about that. And hopefully getting my streaming career started. I keep saying that it's coming and it's coming. So hopefully before the end of the year, that pops off as well. But man, yeah, just a lot of stuff. I know that was a lot, but I mean, that is literally just, that's what it is right now. I'm just kind of I'm riding the wave, going through the motions, because it's been a lot. But like I said, all very rewarding and all just very, like I said, really cool stuff. Can't wait.
I know Fabi's going to be tuning into the YouTube channel, and I will too. You know what I mean? Just because we like to watch those, like watch people's travel things, their travel vlogs and stuff like that. So we'll definitely be tuning in, not just because you're friends of ours.
Yeah, we got one subscriber. Woohoo!
We'll be the first.
Yes.
No, but man, you were talking about SplatCon, and this episode's not sponsored by them. We're not affiliated, but I did want to talk to you about SplatCon because we're going to be there. Yeah, we're ready to reconnect with you again. But when it comes to a convention and things like that, and you have SplatCon, what are you most excited for about SplatCon? No spoilers, because I did ask this to a couple other guests that are going to be there, and there were some things they just obviously can't talk about. But are there any particular event, panels, meetups, things like that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, same. I did sign a contract, so unfortunately, I also cannot reveal things that have not been announced yet. But of the things that have been announced, I probably would say I'm most excited linking up with Kel again. I haven't seen Kel since me and him did Cliff of the Big Red Dog together. So, he's also from Chicago, and, so we bonded over that. And so just seeing someone, from work, past, someone I used to see every week, it's going to be cool. Obviously seeing my sis, Giovanni Samuels, it's always great to see her. We're probably going to have booths next to each other, knowing us. So, it's always going to be hijinks and shenanigans when she's around. So getting to see people that I just know and love, Brian Hearn as well, that's my brother. For me, just being around those people was always a good time. So I'm always going to be looking most forward to spending time with those people if they're around. And SplatCon has a lot of people that I can't wait to see. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, there's so many people. Fabi wants to meet Gio, and that, obviously you guys worked on Bring It On together. We can't wait to reconnect with you and Brian. We just were hanging out with Brian about the beginning of the year, so it's been a little too long, but there's just so many people on that list. Marilyn Harris Smith. We can't wait to meet her. Angry grandma, Andre's grandma. There's just so many.
Yeah.
Since you're going to be a part of the convention, do you have any special plans or surprises lined up for the fans or attendees that you can share? Or how do you usually prepare for an event like this?
I just got into cons. I'm kind of new, so I would say I'm still learning how to prepare, honestly. I do kind of vision SplatCon to be like, my like major test run before I, do anything. I've done panels at, various places. I actually did a panel at LA Comic-Con, but actually being, having a booth and stuff at a con, like I said, I'm still a babe in the woods with, but yeah, SplatCon, I'm anxious to kind of really kind of get into the mode of things and really kind of be like, all right, this is my first sort of real one, and as far as special things planned, man, I don't really. I know that I probably will maybe sell some of my art, so people who, possibly want a GLG original. Normally I, obviously sell these online every so often, but having my sort of existing pieces there, maybe a new one, who knows, by then, that might be cool to do. So that might be an opportunity. Maybe some memorabilia, maybe like a Fairly OddParents jacket might exist. It might be, be able to be signed and, and sold. Who knows, so stuff like that, would probably be what I'm looking forward to, but nothing else has been set in stone. There's a couple of things that I'm trying to work out with some sponsors for the event. So we'll see if they actually come to fruition to when I can talk about them. But yeah. Some small things.
And you're right. I mean, it is an event for, people that grew up, loving all the retro shows. And then there's obviously a mix of, some of the newer. I'm sure people are going to ask you, can you do the Squid voice still? Can you do AJ? I mean, obviously you could do the older AJ, but are you able to still do those voices if someone requested that?
I can't do Squids. I can't. It's so far gone. I was doing that before I really kind of had a voice change. Luckily, AJ, I played him long enough to where I had to adjust through my voice changing to grab him. So he's not hard. Yeah, I can still do AJ if requested, but we're gonna have to do it in a video, so that he captures it on camera. I'm not saying I'm gonna charge for it though. I'm not gonna charge for it, but yeah, no, it's definitely feasible for me to do AJ, but yeah, I can't do Squid. It's really far.
This is too hard.
Yeah.
I thought so, man, because it's hard to tell that was you.
Yeah.
Now, one last question here. Being SplatCon, it's coming up real fast. Like, what's one thing that you're hoping to achieve or experience during your time at this convention? Being that it's a first year event, any particular interactions or moments that you're especially looking forward to?
No, I am looking obviously, like I said, forward to seeing some of the people that I've worked with in the past and that I, have a rapport with. But man, it's really been one of those things that I'm just looking forward to having people who really enjoyed these shows and these performers all in the same place and just showing love. It's a first time con, so I think that alone is something that it's to be excited about. It's always great to sort of break new ground on fandom, and sort of make a lane in that. And I think SplatCon has the ability or the potential to do that. So that's really exciting. But also I feel like with SplatCon specifically, I think it's, been one of those things that I'm very thankful to have, known some of the team behind it and really seen their hard work. So I'm really just excited to see it just come to fruition. Like I said, just happy to be there type stuff. Cause stuff like this is really hard. putting on together a con is just very difficult. So I think that having it happen alone is going to be just a really cool thing to see. And the fact that it's in LA, which not a lot of independent cons are in LA. You know, you've got like the Comic Cons and anime expos and stuff like that. But to have one that's in LA or centralized in Los Angeles is really cool, I think. So, yeah.
Hopefully it turns out to bigger things for you guys, because I know we have like Emerald City Comic Con, and now we're starting to get like this one organization. You know, they're just organizing it all and now bringing multiples. So it's been pretty cool to see that. But yeah, hopefully it turns out more for you guys, and you guys get more independence. But man, you know, I just want to appreciate you coming back on. We'll definitely be connecting here in almost a month. You know, we're going to be vlogging our experience. Hopefully you get a Gary guest appearance. We need to get pictures this time, because we never got those.
Don't even question it. I can't wait. As soon as y'all told me you guys were coming, I was like, bet. Cool. We're gonna have a good time though. Definitely.
Yeah, for sure, man. But again, appreciate you being on. You're always more than welcome to come on and chat. But yeah, man, it's been a fun one.
Definitely. Same. Oh man, it just okay. Yeah, I thought I was frozen for a second, but now it says it's a black screen. There we go. I don't know.
I've seen that. But yeah, man.
Sounds good, man. Like I said, thank you for having me, and I can't wait for SplatCon to get footage with you guys. And again, anytime you want to have me on, I'm always willing. Hopefully, I have something interesting to talk about every time, but I'm always willing to come on, though, for sure.
I've always had this like part 2 in mind, because as somebody that has familiarity with your career, and the things that I've gotten to grow up and watch, but like also looking deeper into what you've done, getting to see some of the other roles. It's like, I wanted to ask about those, and because a lot of people will probably continue to ask you about the rocket powers and stuff like that, right. and that's okay. Right. But there's also more to your career, and
right.
we like to highlight that on this show.
That makes you a journalist.
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate you, man, as always.
Yes, sir. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and man, we'll chat soon.
For sure.
I just wanted to take a moment and thank the podcast sponsor, StreamYard. Without StreamYard, none of this would be possible. I also want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching this episode, whether you're streaming it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, or watching on YouTube. Thank you so much, and stay tuned for many more episodes.